Hello and welcome to Maticus Vlogs.
We'll go.
So if you're new to the channel, then I'd like to wish you the very warmest welcome. And if you are a returning subscriber, then what can I say? You guys are awesome. So you want to be a physiotherapist. You've got interviews coming up. Well, that's great because you've come to the right place. So today I'm going to be giving you some advice and tips on how to do well at your interviews. I applied for an MSc physiotherapy course, which is a postgraduate. However, for the BSc, the interview process would be very similar. What you have are two interview formats. You have a group interview and an individual interview. Very quickly, I want to go over the group interview process. Now, if you haven't seen my previous video on how I got into physiotherapy, then go check that out. I got interviews at Brunel and Southampton. Sorry guys, I just had to move because the light was just in my eyes constantly. So for the Brunel group interview, we had two parts. The first part was 10 of us holding a stick with two fingers, and we started at chest level and we had to get the stick to the ground, and I think our group failed spectacularly. We ended up getting it slightly higher than like what we started with, so we went down and then up and then down, and then eventually we finished just above chest level. But anyway, the point is they want to see you working together as a team and trying to get that stick to the ground. The second part involves you all sitting in a semicircle on chairs, and the interviewers will go around asking you quickfire questions, just pretty much random questions. They want to see what your first response is. So for me, my question was, what superpower would you have and why? And I said it would be a tough call between telekinesis and the ability to heal myself. So that's quite, they want to see your thought process, and they might ask you why you chose that answer. Though in hindsight, I wish I said the ability to heal myself and other people, because that would have been a sick one. I didn't say that though. But yeah, they just want it. It's like a quick fire question. So those two processes, the stick exercise and the quick fire questions, you can't really prepare for. So I'm just telling you now, be aware for these things that you can't prepare for. Like there's no right or wrong answer. And very quickly, for Southampton, it was quite different. So the group exercise consisted of a few of us in a room being observed by the interviewers, a few observers like on one side of the room, and we were looking at a case. So there was a piece of paper, we had to read through it. I think it's a pregnant woman who has some back pain. This exercise was a discussion-based exercise, so there was no right or wrong answer. The interviewers or observers just wanted to see how we interacted with each other. So that was the important part, just kind of our teamwork and how we responded to other people. Now, a few tips that I will give are try to listen as much as you talk. So don't just keep talking and not let anyone else talk, but at the same time don't keep quiet and just nod and wave, boys, nod and wave. So for me, I'm quite a slow starter, so at the start I was a little bit quiet, just kind of listening and taking everything in, and then towards the end I start to pick up and add more stuff, I start to input more into the discussion. Another thing is let other people speak. Like if two people speak at the same time, if you speak at the same time as someone else, then don't just try and talk over them. Let them speak first. Be like, you go first. That's what I did. That kind of just shows that you're a humble human being, and I think it went well for me because I did that quite a lot. When people try and talk over me, I just let them talk. Don't try and dominate. That's kind of related to the first point. Don't try and be king of the conversation, king of the discussion, because everybody's equal and everybody has a right to talk as much as you do. Everybody has the same right to speak, to input. The final tip is don't speak for the sake of it. So as with in the interview, as with life, there are people who just talk. Now, if you don't have anything valuable to say, or if you don't think it's going to add anything, then just kind of keep quiet and listen, observe. So those are the tips I have for the group interviews, because I had interviews at Brunel and Southampton. I'm not sure what anywhere else is like. I'm assuming they're going to be similar with teamwork and how you interact with other people. Essentially, the purpose of the group interviews is for the interviewers to see how well you work in a team, whether you can work in a team, and to observe some of your characteristics and qualities. In your individual interviews, the interviewer might bring up the group interview. They might want to discuss it with you, and in which case just discuss it with them. Share how you felt and what you thought of it and how well you thought it went. And yeah, that's about it really for the group interviews. Now, after the group interviews have finished, there's a little bit of time before the individual interviews, in which case you can have lunch, you can chat to people, ask questions, particularly with some of the potential lecturers that you might have, ask them questions and chat to them. Or if you're like me and you want to prepare properly for your individual interviews, then you can sort of sit in the quiet in the corner and just prepare for that. But obviously I did some chatting as well. I just wanted to make sure I was in the right mental state, so I was chatting. What I recommend is you chat and ask questions for maybe like 10 to 15 minutes during your lunch break and while you're eating lunch, and then after you finish your lunch, your sandwich or whatever. I think for Brunel they gave us Subway, which is pretty cool because Subway is pretty awesome. I chatted for a bit, asked questions, and then I sat in the corner and prepared for my interview. So that's just what I did. Could work for you, might not. If it helps you get in the right frame of mind, then do it. Anyway, for the individual interviews, I have a few tips. Now, the individual interviews are arguably the most important because you're showing the interviewers why you deserve to be there, why you're the right person for the course. You're just trying to convince them, you're trying to sell yourself, but also just to show that you are the best applicant you can possibly be, and that's why they should take you. That's why they should take you over all these other applicants that are there. Tip number 1, dress smart. So guys, go in a suit. I got away with a smart shirt, smart trousers and smart boots, but honestly it depends on the weather. So if you have an interview during the winter months, then you'll be fine wearing a suit, but if you have an interview during the summer months when it's really hot in the UK, then I recommend not wearing a suit because it'll be unpleasant for everybody, including yourself. Guys, just use your common sense with this. You're going for a professional interview like you're going for a job. Don't be rocking up in a tracksuit bottoms, a hoodie and trainers, even though it's comfortable and it's what I'd usually wear, but just don't do that. For ladies, dress appropriately. Obviously, wear the equivalent of a guy's suit or the equivalent of a smart shirt, smart trousers and boots. Tip number 2 is try to get there 15 to 30 minutes early. You don't really want to be there like an hour early because then you're just sitting there wallowing in your own nervousness, so don't do that. But at the same time, you don't want to be rocking up on time or late because then you'll be rushing and your heart rate will be up and you won't be calm. So get there 15 to 30 minutes early and allows you to sit down, chill for a bit, sort of get used to the environment. Tip number 3 is prepare. Look at some example questions that you'll find on the student rooms or on the internet and prepare for them. Prepare bullet point answers for them on a piece of paper, on a Word document, whatever you need, do that. To prepare for my interviews, I actually took every possible example question and then prepared bullet point answers for it, so it ended up being like several pages long on a Word document, which I then printed out, highlighted, scribbled on, read through the day of the interview the night before. So I recommend you do that if you're like me, if you want to be very organised and prepare in advance like what you want to say. It doesn't have to be word for word obviously on the day, but just have bullet points on what key points you want to cover. The reason I recommend this is because there's only a certain number of questions that you can ask, and if you prepare for every possible example question, every possible question that could come up, then you're not going to be thrown into cold water when they ask you a question. You're just going to be like, yep, I know the answer to it, or yep, I know what I want to talk about, and it's not going to be a shock to you. Tip number 4 is to use the STAR principle. Now, this principle was given to me by someone very wise who helped me prepare for my interviews, and STAR stands for situation, task, action, result, and relate. So the STAR principle can be used with pretty much any potential question that they ask you. For example, if they ask you, name a time when you had to work with someone you didn't get along with and how you overcame that. So you'd use STAR, set the scene with situation, task would be what you had to accomplish, action would be what you did and how you did it, and result would be the outcome. And the final thing is relate. So the final R is really important because you have to relate. How is this relevant to physiotherapy? Like, what skills and or qualities have you demonstrated that would be good for a physiotherapist? And lastly, but perhaps most importantly, relate. How is this related to physiotherapy? What skills, what qualities have you demonstrated that are necessary to be a physiotherapist? Okay, so those are some of the most important tips that I wanted to share with you guys. So during the interview, you want to make a good impression. You can do this by sitting up straight, okay, maintaining good eye contact, smile, build rapport with the interviewer. So when you walk in, they're going to be like, how was your train journey here? Or how was your journey here? Or how's the weather today? And don't brush it off. Like, take the opportunity to have like a chat with them. Just have fun, enjoy it. Speak to them as if you were speaking to someone on the train or on the street. Just talk about the weather, maybe compliment the city, maybe say how much you like the campus, the university. Building rapport is just so important. Take your time with your answers. You're not in a rush. They're not putting pressure on you to answer questions like that. These are not quickfire questions. Make sure you think through your answers carefully and take your time and relax and just chill. Okay, so this goes back to building rapport. Humor is important as well. So if you are a funny person, like myself, then go ahead, crack a few jokes and try and make the interviewers laugh, but don't push it too hard. Don't be a try hard, because it could backfire. So use humor with a degree of caution. Think of the interview as a chat, not as an interrogation. If you're thinking of it as an interrogation, then you're just going to be sitting there like, yes, no, yes, no. It's just going to stress you out. The interviewers are nice people. They want to see how nice of a person you are, and just show them that you're a nice person. Show them that you are the right person for the place, why they should take you over everyone else outside. And finally, just enjoy it. Interviews are a great learning tool, and even if one does not go well, it's a great experience that you can learn from. You're only going to grow from it. So if you mess up one interview, the next one you'll be better, and the next one you'll be even better and better and better and better. You can only get better from it. Interviews are a skill. Your ability to perform well at them is a skill. So the more you do it, the more you have interviews, the better you are going to become at interviews. And try not to think about it too much after you've completed the interview. I remember my interview after Southampton. I was on the train back and I was thinking, oh, I could have said this, I could have said that, I could have included this. Yes, you could have, but it's in the past. You can't change the past. As long as you feel like you've done the best that you can, that's all that counts. So guys and gals, I wish you the very best of luck with your interviews. Make sure you prepare properly and implement the tips that I've shared. Now, I sincerely hope you've enjoyed the video, and I hope it's helped you out. If it did, then be sure to give this video a like, and if you would like to see more videos like this or keep up to date with my channel, then click down below on the subscribe button, comment, let me know what you guys think, and maybe share, maybe not. Thanks very much for watching the video, guys. I'll see you guys soon.